Hi, I'm Susan, and this is Ostomy for Seniors. When I first got my ostomy, I was looking for information from someone who looked like me with gray hair, and it was really hard to find. So I decided to do some videos to share what I learned on my new journey with you. So this is Medicare and the basics. So let's just start with the basics. So I'm going to assume that you're going into the hospital soon, or perhaps you've just had surgery, you may still be in the hospital. Everything is very confusing for you. Well, the most important thing you need to know is about your supplies. And there are three main suppliers in the United States and overseas. And they are Hollister, there you go, and Coloplast, and Convatec. All three of these companies are very good. They're very large. There are some smaller companies out there that are also very good that you'll probably want to experiment with as time goes on. So my first tip is, if you have an ostomy nurse that comes into your room while you're in the hospital and she happens to leave supplies in the room, take them with you. If you have a really good nurse that you really like, you might suggest to her, are there any extra supplies? Perhaps you can grab some of those and you can take them home with you as well, because chances are you're going to need them when you get home. I was told that within 48 hours after I got home from the hospital, somebody would be contacting me to set up my supply chain. And I waited the 48 hours and I didn't hear from anybody. So I picked up the phone and I called Hollister and I said, hey, I'm ready for my supplies. And the gentleman said, I'm happy to send you a starter kit. And I said, well, I got a starter kit when I was in the hospital. And he says, well, I'm happy to send you a starter kit. What size are you? And I'm like, size? I'm a size? I had absolutely no idea. So that's the second tip I have for you. Make sure when you leave the hospital, you know who the supplier is for that hospital, what supplies you're going to be coming home with, and who the supplier is, and what size you are when you come home. Your size will change, but at the time you come home from the hospital, you need to know what size you are. So you have suppliers and manufacturers that make all of your supplies, but through that experience I learned you have distributors, and that's how you actually get them. And so some of the distributors that are out there are, one is Byram Healthcare. Another one that I know of is Liberty Healthcare. And a big one that a lot of people use is Shield Healthcare. And I'll have links for all of these down at the bottom of the page. So almost all of these, I think all of these companies for sure will take Medicare. And if you have Medicare Part B, it will cover the usual 80%. If you have a supplemental, however, it will cover 100% of your supplies. I would double check for sure, but I have AARP Supplemental Plan F and all of my supplies are covered. However, you may be limited by what you can get. I use Byram Healthcare and I am limited, and I have a chart that I'm going to show you that I got from Byram that tells you exactly what those limitations are. So this chart shows you that Medicare limits you to 20 appliances a month. If you're using a one-piece appliance, you will get 20 one-piece appliances. If you're using a two-piece, you'll get 20 flanges and 20 pouches. So that's why I want to emphasize, if you can get some of those supplies from the hospital before you come home, bring them home with you. If you have a wound ostomy continence group at your local hospital, sometimes they will have some extra supplies there, but you can't really count on that. Also, your home health nurse may have some supplies as well, but there's no guarantee that they're going to be exactly what you've had in the hospital. So one other thing to know about when you're getting supplies through Medicare, and I don't know if it applies to other insurance as well or not, but you will need a prescription from your doctor. The first time you set up your supply chain, they're going to want to send the distributor, whether it be Shield or in my case Byram, they will send a prescription to your doctor to be signed off. And if your doctor isn't very fast about approving those kinds of things. It could take anywhere from 3 to 5 days in order to get that authorized and get your supply chain going. That's another reason I want to recommend, if you can hoard some supplies in the meantime, it's always a good thing to do that. The other thing to remember is that every time you make a change in your order, a new prescription will go to your doctor. And so let's say, for example, you're using a one-piece appliance and you decide to try a two-piece, or you want to add some accessories such as barrier wipes or rings to your order. Every single one of those will demand a new prescription goes to your doctor. So make sure you have a doctor that you have a long-term relationship with. And it can be your primary care physician, it can be an OB/GYN, it can be your surgeon, it can be your GI doc. It doesn't matter, but you need to have a long-term relationship, otherwise all of that will start all over again. All of the suppliers, Convatec, Coloplast, and Hollister, and even the smaller companies, will all send you free samples. They'll even send you samples of what you come home from the hospital with. And I encourage you to take advantage of that. Also, all of the suppliers have ostomy nurses on call that you can call and talk to. If you don't have an ostomy support group in your area where you live, or if you're too far away from your surgical hospital, they are an excellent resource. If you happen to call into one of the suppliers and you don't like the nurse that you're speaking with, or you don't get the answer that you want, simply try another one. I'm 6 months post-surgery now, and I'm starting to order supplies and samples like crazy because I want to try out a bunch of new stuff now. I've become much more comfortable with my stoma, and my routine is pretty well set. So I know what works really well for me, and I'm not so afraid to try new stuff. There's a website out there. It is veganostomy.ca. That's .ca, veganostomy.ca for Canada. This young man lives in Canada, and he has done a phenomenal job of reviewing appliances and accessories. And I want to encourage you to check out his site. There's an awful lot of information on there. So one last thing. Even though you're able to order your supplies through Medicare, and they may even be covered by 100%, you may not always get exactly what you want. When I left the hospital, I came home with these SurePrep barrier wipes. They have been great. I love them, and I came home with a whole box of 50 that I may have taken from my hospital room, but I came home with a whole box of 50. And when they ran out, I called my distributor and I said, hey, I'd like to reorder these. And they said, it's not covered by your insurance. I was really surprised to hear that. And instead, they substituted these Adapt skin protective wipes. These are also barrier wipes. And to be honest with you, barrier wipes are pretty generic. They're not that much difference. But I really, really liked these SurePrep wipes. They were just great for me. So I discovered another website I'd like for you to know about. It is stomabags.com. Stoma, S-T-O-M-A, stomabags.com. They are a retail site, but you can buy almost anything you need from them, and their reps are excellent. You can call them on the phone. Now, it will cost you some money. If I get a box of 10 flanges and pouches, a box of 10 flanges, a box of 10 pouches, the cost will run about $80 to $100, which can be a little bit steep. But again, if the rest of your supplies are going to be covered through Medicare, and if you have a supplemental and it's covered by 100%, that's a pretty small price to pay to have that peace of mind and have those extra supplies sitting in your supply cabinet when you need them. Hope you've gotten some good information from this video. You can email me at OstomyForSeniors@gmail.com. I'd like to hear from you.